How are we using our marketing activities to help us identify those people? How are we using conversation? How are we using our listening instead of just our telling, which is very common in marketing,
Hmm.
to bring people along a journey with us?
I think that's worth reiterating. Using our listening rather than our telling.
Yes.
It reiterates something I said to someone recently, that actually, your ears and your eyes are a very powerful medium for actually A, establish a relationship, and B, also making a or closing a deal. Do you want to build that out, Tracy? Because it's something that accords with me. Some things, if we just a quick summary of where I think my understanding is. Remember, I sit in the corner asking the questions I hope our readers and viewers will want answers to. Um, what I think you're saying is that, right, first of all, keep it simple. Secondly, don't burn budget. Thirdly, don't do necessarily what the your competitor's doing, or even the apparent lead in the competitive environment is doing. Create your own niche. Ensure that you actually have a strategy that is, it's by connecting all the dots, you build the funnel. That funnel is strategized. It's not just a hodgepodge of things and hope. It's not a bunch of hopes and dreams pinned together. I just made that up.
Yeah.
Um, so it's
Very
not just a bunch
accurate,
of,
though.
there we go. And it has a beginning, middle, and an end, and it's all strategized. And you don't actually make the leap from beginning to end so wide, so difficult, so complex to understand, or so imponderable to the person with whom you want to have the relationship, that they actually never make it. And ensure that, remember that impressions are broadly vanity metrics. They give you a certain amount of data, but bottom line is, it's who you make the sales to that's really important, and actually narrowing that funnel down to the right audience with the right message. The frictionless path through your funnel is the way to make things happy. Is that fair?
Mm, yes. And I think as you describe that too, there's something for me that comes up in terms of like knowing people. Right? So we touched on listening, and when we listen and we exchange in a meaningful way, you create an opportunity to know people. And yes, the level of knowing is different depending on your business model. So if you are selling a very low cost widget and you need to sell them in very high volume, then your level of knowing is going to be different than if you are selling high cost consulting services, right? In that case, your level of knowing needs to be much closer. So
And you mean
again,
level of knowing about your client, and
yes,
your perfect client profile, or your
right.
ideal client profile.
Well, I have many issues with a typical ideal client profile. Um, Mostly because due to the prevalence of demographic information being available online, most people and businesses tend to focus on demographic profiling because that's how I can target an ad. Demographic profiling in terms of problem, need, and desire to have a solution is not very helpful. So just because you are a woman between 40 and 50 doesn't mean you have this problem. We make the assumption that most of the people who have this problem are in this demographic. So then I'm going to target just people in that demographic instead of targeting people who have the problem. And I'm a much bigger fan of targeting people based on what they have already decided that they need. So I I think authentic marketing is a good example of that because most people aren't walking around in the world being like, I need to be more authentic. um, but there are people walking around the world who do or who are thinking that. I don't control whether or not they think it. I also can't know that they're thinking it based on their LinkedIn profile. Okay? I can only know that if I get into a conversation with you. I start to share what I think authenticity is. You start to share about what that means for you. And then we can take that somewhere if it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, we can also be friends, refer each other, right? Like it doesn't, not everyone is your ideal client, and nor should they be.